Good morning, everyone. It is a weirdly chilly, windy day in LA, and it's the perfect weather to talk about invoking the name of the devil, Scott Pruitt. So, just as an FYI, it is time-stamped 9:30 Friday on April 13th. Everything could change by the time that I release this, but don't worry. I'm not going to just be talking about what a fossil fuel shill Scott Pruitt is. He's been in the news a lot lately because of what he's done with the Environmental Protection Agency, which by name should be about protecting environmental resources in America. And the things that I want to remind you with this live broadcast are that one, Scott Pruitt has actually not been able to damage as much as we think he has environmentally. And two, I'd like this to be a rallying call to get him out of office. And we have an amazing march coming up, which I'll tell you a little bit more at the end of this video. So all we need to point to in our thoughts with Scott Pruitt to get him out of office is the moment that he called climate change not necessarily a bad thing for humans. That was the moment that my heart shriveled just a little bit. And full disclosure, Pruitt was the last name of the boy that I had a crush on in the 3rd grade. So it really pains me to have a guy associated with that darling memory of him rescuing my mittens from the swing set. Obviously, Pruitt is no childhood sweetheart, for many reasons. He's had this like weird housing deal that's been in the news, lavish spending on travel, security, furniture on taxpayer dime, retaliation against employees who were under him and who question him. He's been scrubbing the EPA of all mention of anthropogenic climate change or human-caused climate change. And of course, he's persuaded the agency to be more accommodating to businesses, big oil, which no doubt benefits his own pocketbook. We'll just have to figure out why. I'm sure it'll come to light at some point. So everybody recently was up in arms about Scott Pruitt killing or rolling back Obama's strict fuel efficiency standards. And he was, the leading advocate for Trump to withdraw from Sacre Bleu, the Paris Climate Accord. The EPA, think about that for a second. The EPA was the main proponent of withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord. But just as an aside, that Paris Climate Accord doesn't take effect until 2020. So only if Trump is reelected will we have a problem, which, we're not going to let him. So, but truthfully, so Scott Pruitt has done a lot less to dismantle the EPA than he would have you believe. Ooh, it's very windy. And he, just like in most of President 45's administration, he's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. So I'm just going to tell you 4 things to kind of keep you hopeful about the current situation with the environment, because this is the #1 most important issue facing us as a species. So number 1, major federal regulations are time consuming and they're difficult to enact. Okay. They're also just as difficult to reverse. So there's a really great article by Politico recently where they said, there's this old saying that it's easier to tear down a barn than it is to build one. That doesn't apply to rules limiting pollutants like ozone, coal ash, methane, mercury. It doesn't apply. So you can't govern by press release. That doesn't work. So he has a huge amount of work to do that he's only at the start of. So that's number 1. Number 2, the EPA rules that were in effect in 2016 are still in effect in 2018. He tried to impose a unilateral stay on an Obama rule regulating climate warming methane emissions from oil and gas operations. And a federal appeals court, quote, deemed the stay unauthorized and unreasonable. And so they smacked it down and the methane rule is in force again. And similarly, he tried to maneuver to suspend Obama's restrictions on smog. And then a group of state attorneys sued and Pruitt reversed course. So those restrictions also remain in effect. So all of them in 2016 are still all of them in 2018. Number 3, Scott Pruitt's disdain for science, fact, and transparency only gives ammunition to people in court who are trying to sue him to reverse any actions he's doing. So the Environmental Defense Fund, one of the lawyers there, said that it's actually a big win when he tries to make things up, because then it's a lot easier to litigate against that. For example, Congress rejected Trump's push to slash the EPA budget by 1/3. And also the White House rejected Pruitt's plans to have this like blue team, red team public debate on discrediting climate change. They're like, nah, bruh. And a big reason for that is because, you know, he's so clearly in disdain of science, and people are like, yeah, it's not going to work. So number 4, and I love this one. This one warms my heart on this chilly, windy day. Number 4, the staffers that were previously in the EPA were there for a reason, okay? Many are career environmental professionals who have been spending decades of work on projects, right? They are not helping Pruitt pass what he's trying to get done. So think about you in their place. Can you imagine being enthusiastic about dismantling work that you've done for decades at your job at the EPA? Neither can I. So all this to say, Pruitt is obviously a fossil fuel shill. He obviously is a climate denier, but he hasn't done as much work as he likes to say that he has. And I also think that environmental groups are saying that he has to get support to get him out of office. Everybody's kind of pushing to the fringes on it. And actually it's somewhere more in the middle, just like life, just like anything. So, you know, all Pruitt did, like with this fuel efficiency announcement, was basically initiate a bureaucratic process that could take years to complete, and then he'd be facing years of litigation and legal challenges. So, and the polling shows that he's actually less popular than President 45, if you can believe that. So, final announcement on this windy day, there is a March for Science all across the nation happening tomorrow, Saturday, April 14th. Just like you took to the streets to get militarized guns out of our schools, I'm asking you to take to the streets to march for science, like basic science, to help us uphold these Environmental Protection Agency standards that are vastly needed. We are at a new time in our civilization that we've never been to before in terms of humans' impact on the environment. And so please get out there. Just go to marchforscience.com, and they have a great map where you can find a march in your neighborhood. Thanks so much. Peace out.